What happens if humans control time? Time had always been a steady river, flowing in one direction, silent and unstoppable. At least that's what humanity believed, until the day someone discovered it could be bent, reshaped like clay in their hands. The first to try it was an ordinary physicist named Dr. Aaron Keller. His invention, the chrono key, was supposed to be a theoretical experiment, a harmless machine that measured the flow of seconds with microscopic precision. But when he activated it, the air folded inward, and for a brief moment, Aaron watched his own body stand in front of him twice. One moving forward, the other backward. He had touched the river of time and realized it was not water, but glass, and glass could crack. News of the chrono key spread faster than any discovery before. At first, it was locked away by governments, whispered about in dark corridors of power. Yet humanity's hunger for control was stronger than secrecy. Within a decade, devices that allowed ordinary people to change time were sold like expensive watches. They were called turners in casual speech, sleek metallic bracelets with glowing dials. With one twist, you could erase 5 minutes of embarrassment, undo an argument, or catch a bus you had missed. Time became elastic, and life began to feel like a draft you could endlessly edit. At first, it seemed like paradise. Students aced exams by living the same hour again and again until they knew every question. Lovers never said the wrong thing on first dates. They simply rewound until every smile was perfect. Criminals were caught in loops of their own mistakes, unable to escape. Wars even became harder to wage, for every strike could be reversed by another twist of time. People thought they had conquered fate itself, but soon the cracks appeared. The river resisted being bent too much. Some users began to experience ghosting, seeing fragments of themselves from timelines that should have vanished. A woman might wake up and find two versions of her husband sitting at the kitchen table, each swearing he was real. Others complained of lost hours or entire days that dissolved into nothingness, as if the fabric of reality had forgotten them. Hospitals filled with patients whose minds were fractured by too many loops, unable to tell whether they were living the first version of a moment or the 10th. Aaron Keller, now old and weary, warned the world that time was not infinite clay but a fragile mirror. Every twist created hairline fractures, and one day the mirror would shatter. Few listened. Humanity had grown addicted to perfection. They preferred polished lives, sculpted conversations, flawless victories. Regret became extinct, but so did authenticity. One evening, a young girl named Lila stood on a rooftop, clutching her Turner. She had used it so often that her memories overlapped like half-transparent photographs. She could no longer tell if she had kissed her best friend yesterday or if that was a version of her life she had undone. Tears blurred her eyes as she wondered, who was she really without the mistakes? Did her life mean anything if it was stitched together from infinite do-overs? She decided to test something no one dared. She twisted the dial backward, not minutes, not hours, but years. Back to the moment before the chrono key was ever built. The world flickered. She saw history folding like paper, wars reversed, buildings crumbling into their foundations, her own life shrinking to a child, then to nothing. And finally, silence. When she opened her eyes, she stood in a dusty laboratory. In front of her was Dr. Keller, younger now, preparing to activate the chrono key for the first time. Lila's voice trembled as she spoke. Don't do it. Please. Time isn't meant to be rewritten. We'd lose ourselves in it. Keller stared at her, shocked, then looked at his machine. His hand hovered over the switch. The choice stretched endlessly. For a moment, time held its breath. If he listened, humanity would never taste the power of undoing. Life would remain messy, filled with regret, pain, and mistakes, but also genuine, irreplaceable moments. If he ignored her, the river would continue cracking until it shattered forever. The machine buzzed softly, waiting. Lila watched his trembling hand, knowing that whatever decision he made would not just define one moment, but all of existence. And as the weight of choice pressed upon them, a strange understanding filled her heart. Perhaps time was never about control, but about surrendering to its flow. Because without the possibility of mistakes, there could never be true meaning. And the river of time, patient as ever, waited to see whether humanity would finally learn that lesson.